WWE's back on TV, and the Shockmaster has two left feet. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dropkicks and Attractions. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard to Dropkicks and Attractions, your favorite historical wrestling, chronological, timeline, time machine, wibbly wobbly podcast. I am, of course, Xander Invictus, joined by my close personal friend, and I am his power of attorney, Big Buck. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, Xander, and you are not that thing. You never have been.
You think that. Anyways, before anything tragically happens and I get control of all his stuff, we are back once again. Thank you for the letting us deviate from our usual content last week when we kind of just reminisced about us being wrestling fans. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, had a great time.
Yeah, so maybe, we'll see what we can do in the future. Possibly we'll come up with some occasional offshoot episodes like that. And of course, if you guys did not listen to us last week or 2 weeks ago, first of all, why the hell not?
Good question.
Yeah. How dare you? I'm offended. We are a member of the Main Event Wrestling Network. You can find us and them all over Twitter, YouTube. They have their own website. We're one of the only kind of like retro content creators they have on there. It's a lot of like modern content. Like somebody just posted one on their YouTube page about at of this recording. It was the King and Queen of the Ring happened today.
Mm-hmm.
No spoilers. I know who won. No spoilers, but that already happened this afternoon because it took place in Saudi Arabia.
Gotcha.
So yeah, if you guys like, they have different podcasts, different voices. Sometimes they'll post their stuff on Twitter too. So Twitter, YouTube, they're on TikTok as well. So if you want to follow us, follow them, follow all the shows that are a part of that network.
Yeah, we'll have some of their linked in the descriptions.
Yeah, we're gonna link to them on video sharing sites, and then of course when we post the episodes, we'll shout them out on Twitter. Once again, absolutely fantastic group of guys. We've been working with them so far.
Oh yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. So we are actually, shock of all shocks, guys, we have WWE content all over again.
Yay!
Wow! For those that are just joining us, WWE, this would have been like, we're talking about August, so you're probably, for those that don't remember, back in the day, I want to say up until almost 2000, US Open would be shown on USA, because that was where WWE was shown up until early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
When they went to TNN, that became Spike, and then they went back to USA. Now they're going to Netflix at the beginning of the year, which is going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Looking forward to that.
That, I just also want to see what kind of content's migrating over other than Raw.
Gotcha.
And how if that's going to change anything that happens on Raw, because, you're on Netflix, you can basically do whatever the hell you want type stuff.
Uh-huh.
I'm not expecting death matches and blood and fuck this, fuck that, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyways, US Open would happen every year around August, I remember, because it would be right around the time I would go back to school. So they would just preempt Raw for a couple weeks, and that's what happened here. We had 3 weeks of WCW Saturday night. We had SummerSlam, and now we're going to be back at it here with Raw and WCW Saturday night, just to go into another pay-per-view in 2 weeks with Fall Brawl and
War Games.
So we'll be talking about that, and yes, this is the go-home show for Saturday night before Fall Brawl.
Yes.
So we're just going to jump into it. We're at Monday Night Raw. We're, of course, at the Hammerstein Ballroom at the Manhattan Center, New York, which I actually was checking this out because, once again, I like to keep the results and all the information up on the screen when I take notes.
Mm-hmm.
I think there might be one more taping after this, and then they're not going to be here for the rest of the year.
Huh. Didn't realize that was going to happen.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of it, too, because I know they did up until 97, I think, was the last episode they did at the Hammerstein. Up until when they did, that 30th anniversary special where they had it at Madison Square Garden. And you remember when they did that a couple years ago?
I do.
Yeah, they did that. I think that was the first time, because, matter of fact, the last episode they did at the Hammerstein Ballroom. Not the Hammerstein Ballroom, that's the big one. We've already had this discussion. Well, at the Manhattan Center at the smaller ballroom.
Uh-huh.
The Hammerstein was the big one.
Right.
was the ECW invasion,
Oh,
where they had Taz, my wrestling grandfather, Mikey Whipwreck was there, Dudley's, Sabu, Rob Van Dam, Paul Heyman was there when he was still Paulie Dangerously. I think he was still Paul Heyman at that point. But basically, it was kind of a invasion type thing. There was a little bit of cross promotion between WWF at the time and ECW. Who knew that the forbidden, quote unquote, forbidden door?
right.
Yeah, don't get me started on that concept. But anyways, we're at Hammerstein Ballroom, of course, with our trio of Vince, Bobby, and Randy, going over the card.
Yeah, they're talking about the Steiners versus the Quebecers for the tag titles. And as they describe the Quebec province rules, I realize, oh gosh, they're going to do the whole WCW thing with no throwing over the top rope. Better get the buzzer ready.
Yeah, but no, not really. But it's just basically when I was looking over the rules, because I knew about this match.
Mm-hmm.
This was they call this the province of Quebec rules, which basically the rules are just like, this is a Bill Watts wet dream match. Strap in, folks. There's a shitload of rules for this.
Yeah.
There's a reason there's only had this happen one time. Title changes can happen on DQ. Title changes can handle on countout. There are no pile drivers. There are no top rope moves. And no throwing over the top rope. So basically, you can't do a fucking thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
So we get the Steiner brothers and the Quebecers. Like, I know you're not too familiar with the Quebecers, kind of, but not really.
Yeah, that's about the size of it.
One of them you are, and we'll get to that. We'll save him for the second one, but you're familiar with one of them.
Okay.
It was, at the time, it was Jacques and Pierre.
Right.
And they were called the Quebecers. And Jacques, actually way back in the late 80s, used to be on WWF as the Fabulous Rougeau brothers. It was him and Raymond. You know, they are French-Canadian. They are from Quebec.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Jacques, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn's trainer.
Oh, really? Cool.
But anyways, this is Pierre Ouellette and Jacques Ouellette. The reason they look like Mounties, and you actually heard in the theme song, we're not the Mounties.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, once the Fabulous Rougeau brothers went their separate ways, Jacques stayed on TV, and he was known as the Mountie. He came out dressed, like, they look like it because he came out dressed in the hat and the red coat. He came out with Jimmy Hart, and he used to come out with this massive shock stick. It was a gigantic, big-ass cattle prod, and then he would beat his opponent and then shock him with it. And they would have the very obvious over-the-piece ADR. Like, it was...
Holy crap.
Yeah, but it was very obviously like they dubbed in the sound as the, you know.
Gotcha, like they do on the wheel on Price is Right.
Sort of, kind of, yeah. But the funny thing was, and this is the reason they're saying they're not the Mounties in the theme song, because his theme song when he was the Mountie was, I'm the Mountie, I'm brave. Basically, this is just a redubbing or redoing of the Mountie theme song.
Gotcha.
The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, which is the Mounties, did not like this idea of this, evil foreigner coming in dressed like them, beating up bad guys. So, whenever he wrestled in Canada as the Mountie, he was not allowed to be known as the Mountie. He would just be Jacques, Jacques Ouellette or Rougeau or whatever.
I gotcha.
So they come back as the Quebecers, and this is the first time we've seen them on Raw. They've been on like Superstars and stuff for a while. This is not their first WWF appearance.
Gotcha.
Which is why they're not called the Mounties anymore. They're the Quebecers. And the theme song is, we're not the Mounties, because they were basically told they're not allowed to do that.
Okay.
That would be basically, like, we're the FBI. We really say what we do. And, they would come out and like, I'm FBI Agent Randy. And then they'd be like, no, you can't do that.
Okay.
Just like the whole Vince McMahon exploding, dies in an explosion in the limo.
Right.
Storyline before they did the whole Chris thing. Because that happened a couple weeks after this whole thing where Vince got into limo and the limo blew up. It was not the FBI that investigated this whole who, put a bomb in the limo.
Right.
It was the FIB.
Okay.
Same concept. Now, we talked about Jacques. He's been around since the late 80s or whatever.
Right.
You know who Pierre is.
I do.
So if I give you his name, Pierre Carl Ouellette. If you take the first three letters, if you take the first letter in each of those, Pierre, Carl Ouellet. What do you
Oh,
get?
PCO.
That is the fucking French-Canadian Frankenstein right there. That is the PCO right there as fucking, that's Pierre. That's PCO.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like he's like, and for those that don't realize, like we're doing this in 2024. This is 93. I legit just watched him wrestle, what was that, about 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, we saw him when we went to Impact Presents Against All Odds last year.
Yeah, and then I'm talking about, like, I saw him then, and then about 3 weeks ago, I watched him do a Monsters Ball match.
Gotcha.
Because what had happened is that he had retired, he had done the, independence, and he'll be in WWE as a couple things. He'll have a spot in WCW. He'll bounce back and forth, basically, off and on for a time or two until late 90s in WCW.
Gotcha.
And then he had done in indies and retired for a while. And then how they have the collective, GCW does the collective WrestleMania week every year where they have a bunch of like independents get together and they all do shows together.
Uh-huh.
Joey Janela has this one basically called Joey Janela's Spring Break where he just does dream matches.
Gotcha.
Because fuck it, why not have Joey Janela versus Marty Jannetty? Shit like that. Or he has this match called the Clusterfuck where it's just whoever shows up.
Right.
And they had a match with Walter, who we now know as Gunta.
Ooh.
Versus PCO. And he was still in this whole, he had really not wrestled a lot. He had, jacked as he is now because everybody sees him, he's jacked. And they just beat the dog shit out of each other. Like there was a picture where PCO his chest was purple almost.
Whoa.
And this basically reinvigorated his, like, people wanted him all over the place, revitalized him. They wanted to see this guy that just went toe-to-toe with, one of the bigger names in WWE right now. But he was a huge independent star from Austria. I think he's Austrian. But anyways, he started getting bookings everywhere. And it slowly developed and, coming back from the dead, his whole career and him coming back from the dead.
Uh-huh.
Which evolved his character becoming the French-Canadian Frankenstein and all this shit.
Gotcha.
And like I said, up until a few weeks ago, and he's still wrestling for Impact right now, TNA or Impact. Matter of fact, Slammiversary is going to be in Montreal this year.
Oh, neat.
Which is like their biggest pay-per-view.
Right.
So yeah, 31 years later, this man is still wrestling, and he's doing like insane shit.
Gotcha.
Like you saw him, he did a street fight with Cody Deaner last year.
Mm-hmm.
We saw him do that, and he's doing just insane bumps. I saw him last week, or a few weeks ago rather. He was doing a Monsters Ball match, which is basically a street fight. There's a couple extraneous, quote-unquote, rules, which, once we get to TNA, we'll eventually get there, but
yeah. Basically,
it's a street fight, and supposedly you're supposed to be locked into a dark room with no food or water or anything for 24 hours.
Yikes.
Basically, it's supposed to be like, oh, I'm feral, I'm at my, most...
Yeah,
and then you have a hardcore match. And then basically what this was. And I just kind of watched, we were front row, we got to watch him do the PCO salt from front row.
Uh-huh.
It was fun. Like, he's fucking great.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, massive tangent aside, because once again, are we DNA without tangents?
No, we are not.
Good, because we're 16 minutes in and we still haven't talked about the first match. Okay, so basically, this is the Bill Watts Wet Dream match, the Quebecers versus the Steiner brothers. Rick, right off the bat, boom, power slamming friggin' Jacques pretty damn quick, actually.
Oh, yeah.
And I did notice, there was, the feeling out, a couple power moves from Rick and everything. That first count from Earl Hebner, to me, seemed a little too fast.
I saw that. That was a little unusual.
Yeah, like, there was no in the take or anything. It just seemed like maybe there was some, I think it was a little fast. But once again, I'm a fan. What the fuck do I know?
When Scott entered for the first time, he did what looked like a double underhook powerbomb. Is that what you'd call it?
Yeah, like I know it more as that as a Masawa would do it as the Tiger Driver. If you ever hear of the Tiger Driver,
yeah, I have actually.
That's what the Tiger Driver is.
Okay, makes sense.
There's different variations. It's basically a double underhook powerbomb, but it's basically most commonly known as the Tiger Driver.
Gotcha.
And there's the Tiger Driver 98, Tiger Driver 91. This, that, and the other. It's basically a double underhook powerbomb, but I just call it the Tiger Driver because the first person I really saw do it was Masawa in like the late 90s in PWI, and it blew my mind because a powerbomb with a double underhook? What?
Right.
But yeah, Scott was the fast one, but he was still just almost as much power as Rick, and you saw back and forth. This was basically just a lot of quick tags early in the beginning. This was basically like Jacques and Rick and Pierre and Scott to start the match off. So basically, and I noticed that, remember, no pile drivers, no top rope moves, no nothing, right? And I like at one point Rick goes for, the obvious Rick Steiner classic pile driver that he totally uses all the time.
Right.
I'm just like, oh yeah, the oft-used Steiner pile driver.
Yeah, Scott has to remind him not to do it.
Because it was always considered that, I even realized this as a kid, Rick was supposed to be the dumb one.
Huh. Never picked up on that.
Where if you watch it, like, he's supposed to be, the college graduate, the smart guy, the college graduate or whatever.
Right.
But in wrestling, because, nothing, everything's real in wrestling, he's an idiot, basically. He's a doofus.
Gotcha.
He's very, if you want to go mentality-wise, he's very Otis.
Okay, yeah, I see exactly what you mean.
And then I can always tell, you can usually tell that a match is super convoluted or you're not going to see it ever again.
Mm-hmm.
When every time a match, something happens in the match or a move happens, the commentators have to do that fake conversation where they're explaining the rules to you while you're watching it, but it sounds like they're having a conversation with each other.
Yeah.
But you can tell it's a very, very forced conversation.
Yeah, I noticed that here.
Where it's like, oh, so you're saying that they can't use a pile driver, they'd be disqualified. Yeah, and if they're disqualified, it's just like, if you have to force a conversation explaining the rules.
Yeah, maybe the match was a little too complicated.
Yeah. And I noticed this was impressive. Now, once again, Scott's a very strong guy. He was the quicker one, but he's always a strong guy. That he's tossing Pierre around basically like nothing.
Yeah, he was just going nuts.
Yeah, like they were mentioning during the match that at least build-wise, Pierre was upwards of 300 pounds.
Yeah, I noted that when the match started, the Quebecers are huge.
Yeah, but I mean, you just saw how big Pierre is, and he's about that same size now.
Right.
He's not a small dude.
Mm-hmm.
And then out of nowhere, like, I wasn't aware, once again, we haven't watched the Superstars or Mania or whatever. Johnny Polo comes out.
Gonna say, yeah, that threw me. I didn't. Why?
In a Montreal Canadiens jersey, that's the, for the 4 people that don't know, including my co-host, that's the NHL team.
Right.
That's the jersey for the Montreal Canadiens. One of the original, when I say original, like the original NHL teams that are still around since the existence of the NHL.
Gotcha.
As the Montreal Canadiens, they're one of the oldest teams. I think it's them, Detroit, Boston. Hold on. I think it's them, Detroit, Boston, that they were like the original, like I think there was like 6 or 8 NHL teams. I'm looking it up as well.
Mm-hmm.
11 oldest teams in the NHL. I'm looking. So we got, okay, I'm going all the way down this list. They're actually the oldest. Founded in 1909.
Oh, wow.
They have 24 Stanley Cups.
Holy crap.
Toronto was the other one, the Maple Leafs.
Mm-hmm.
The Bruins. See, I got Montreal and I got Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit and Chicago were the 5 oldest.
Yeah, the Blackhawks.
Yeah. But yeah, I got 3 out of the 5. For someone who really doesn't watch a lot of hockey, I know some, but I'm as casual as I am of a basketball fan, I'm even more casual of a hockey fan.
Gotcha.
But basically, those were like the 5 original, those are the oldest teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes the Rangers, or the last oldest one, those are like the original 6.
Uh-huh.
And then there wasn't, I guess the next one was the Blues.
Yeah, from St. Louis.
Penguins, the Kings, and then, Philly, the Flyers, and then Buffalo.
Gotcha.
But yeah, from 42 to 67, 6 teams. So, but yeah, anyways, once again, hey, we got 2 tangents in. We're never going to finish this episode, folks.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah, eventually. It's not like I got to go to work in the morning. But basically, Polo grabs the Quebecers, and it looks like they're heading towards the back during commercial break. Like he's taking them backstage or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm coming back from commercial. The Quebecers are firmly in control. And I did notice this. You could tell this was an accident. That the Quebecers hit Scott with a double stun gun.
Uh-huh.
And when he tumbled around the ropes, his wrist actually got caught.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. That looked bad.
I imagine it was painful because you remember, those are steel cables.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you'll notice that Johnny Polo actually almost got caught using the hockey stick.
Very close.
Because he came out with a hockey stick and almost got caught. But yeah, I liked overall, there was a lot of like good teamwork from the Quebecers, a lot of really cool double team moves that I really enjoyed.
As we move toward the end of the match, I have to say, no, Bobby, the Frankensteiner was not a pile driver. You're so slanted, the words are rolling right off your screen.
I could see those. Bobby is like, oh, they're using something illegal. You got to disqualify them. Yeah, and then Scott was in there for quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
Just getting beat. Like, they did the whole classic, oh, the hot tag, but the ref didn't see it, so it didn't count. All that, the tag team tropes.
That happens all the time.
Yeah. And then Rick finally gets the hot tag, and the match just breaks down. And this is what I noticed. We're getting to the end of the match. Rick is the legal man. He was tagged in, right?
Right.
So, all four men are in the ring. Johnny's got the thing. He's trying to use the hockey stick. Mm-hmm. The ref has Rick leave the ring as he's supposed to be the illegal Steiner.
Right.
Rick was tagged in. Rick technically was the legal Steiner.
Right.
There might have been some sort of communication mix up. But yeah, Rick technically was the legal man.
Right.
So anyways, Scott does get the hockey stick, uses it, he gets DQ'd, and because titles can change in DQs in the obviously often used province of Quebec rules, we have new tag team champions.
Yeah, this match took 17 minutes, 48 seconds, and I loved it.
Yeah, it was a great match. But I noticed after the match, in between, they had a little segment in between this and then the next match.
Mm-hmm.
Vince and Bobby are mad that the Steiners lost, but they lost within the rules of the match. I'm like, no, that's not how that works. They agreed to this match. There's rules to this match. They lost because they didn't follow the rules. That wasn't cheating.
Right.
Maybe it was, obviously the match was slanted towards the bad guys, sure. But they still agree. It's like you agreed to the rules. If you lost by not following those rules,
yeah,
you weren't cheated out of the match.
Yeah, it's your own fault.
Mm-hmm. So once again, the bad guy commentators make sense.
Uh-huh.
Devil's advocate, it's weird. They make sense. It's odd. But so we go to the next match. Tony DeVito, the Baldy, even though right now in 93 he's got a mullet.
Uh-huh.
The future Baldy from ECW.
Ah.
Up against one of my favorites. We've established that he is one of my all-time favorites. Probably not Mount Rushmore, but I bet you he's probably number 5. Is
Mr. Perfect.
Fucking Mr. Perfect. And this was a squash match, obviously. I like that, Tony DeVito tries to do a couple things where he tries to run off to the back again. Henning comes out, he says, nope, just grabs him, pulls him back into the ring. This was inevitable. We knew who was going to win this. They were basically just using this to talk about the match and, the previous match, the tag title match. Nothing out of the ordinary. DeVito does get a couple moves, but once again, there was nothing that we weren't expecting.
Yeah. In the crowd, I noticed there was somebody beckoning for loudness like they were an orchestra conductor. I couldn't tell what the chant was, but that was a neat little detail.
Yeah. Once again, those are the kind of fans I like. Do what you do, just don't be a dick.
Right.
But yeah, perfect plex for the win. I mean, this was inevitable.
Yeah, 2 minutes, 49 seconds, good cooldown after that marathon of a tag title match.
Yeah, because if you're talking about, like, commercial breaks and everything, that was at least a good 20-some-odd minute match.
Yeah, we are well over halfway into the broadcast.
Yeah, and then we basically get a recap with Vince talking to Randy about the post-SummerSlam segment where we talked about this on our SummerSlam episode where Luger is in backstage in the locker room and Ludwig Vorga comes out and just calls him out for stuff.
Yeah.
No news. Basically, this is, just recapping. So, of course, obviously, we're building towards Luger and Borga, which never happens.
Huh.
At least on TV. The closest we get to this actually happening as a match is Survivor Series, which we'll get to soon.
Okay.
So we get in the next match. The Executioner, and I knew who it was, but I didn't know when they're coming out because I don't know if there was some sort of like audio mixing problem. I could barely hear the theme song.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you caught that. It just felt harder to listen to.
I did not catch that.
Another one that we're both big fans of is
Razor Ramon.
Fucking Razor Ramon. And now, like, you know me. We've established that I love knowing who's under the mask, the face paint, whoever.
Uh-huh.
I think, like, I wasn't able to confirm this just by what I could see under the mouth and the eye holes. I'm almost positive that was Barry Hardy under the mask.
Huh.
To me, it looked like Barry Hardy.
Okay.
Could be wrong, but to me, like, it wasn't Dwayne Gill. Dwayne Gill was smaller.
Gotcha.
But, you know, how we saw a lot, you know, we were getting a lot of Dwayne Gill, a lot of Barry Hardy, at least in 93.
Right.
That's what I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I like, Razor gave him a few seconds, basically, you know, the whole Spider-Man thing.
Thanks, Spider-Man. Everybody gets one.
And then Razor like, nope, I'm done. All right, I'm just going to beat your ass, basically use all my big moves, and beat the snot out of you.
Yep, finish it off with a belly-to-back suplex from the second rope, 3 minutes, 37 seconds.
Yep, it was kind of interesting that he didn't use his finisher to win.
He did hit it after the bell, though.
He did do it after the bell, but it was just funny that, you know, he used one of his trademarks. Like, you know, the back suplex was always his thing. You know, the off the ropes type thing.
Yeah.
That was a Razor Ramon Scott Hall special. You know, he basically did the abdominal stretch, he did the fall away slam, he did the back suplex for the win. It was all Razor Ramon's greatest hits.
Yeah.
No notes.
No notes.
It's always nice to see Razor Ramon on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I think this was just odd placement. That we just had the tag title match at the top of the show, right?
Right.
And title change, all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
We have 2 matches, right?
Right.
Now, Vince is in the ring when we come back from commercial to bring out the new tag champs again. Why didn't we not just have this segment do a thing where it's like, hey, the match is over, we go to commercial, we come back, the champs are still in the ring, we do this segment.
Yeah, that would have made more sense.
Yeah, it felt weird for them to have the match, go back, do like a good third of the show, and then come back and bring them back out.
Yeah.
To me, weird placement to me. But once again, what the fuck do I know about wrestling? I'm just a fat dude, you know, doing a podcast, and
We're mooks with mics.
I like that.
Credit to YouTuber Sid Alpha, whose content I love.
Yeah, mooks with mics. I like that. Yeah, basically that's what we are. This is that's what I always say. You never give someone a mic. People like us, you don't give us mics. Anyways, basically what this was is that, hey, we're winning. We're hey, look at us. We're winning. We're not the Mounties, but we won the tag titles. And Johnny Polo came out and said they're not getting the Steiners aren't getting a shot. They don't want to give the Steiners a shot. They're the contractually obligated rematch.
Right.
And I don't know how much of this was the prodding from Vince or they'd already planned this. Basically, what this is they agree that next week on Raw, if one of the Steiners beats one of the Quebecers in a one-on-one match, Steiners get a rematch at some point.
As this segment started, I was kind of hoping that Cornette was going to bring in the Heavenly Bodies to face the Quebecers, but obviously that's not what happened.
No, plus you're also looking at a heel versus heel thing going on that, you know.
Right.
We know you like your Cornette. Well, don't worry. Wait a few weeks.
Okay.
Once again, he's on the creative team. Cornette's not going anywhere.
Gotcha.
Wait till you get to Camp Cornette.
Get to what?
Camp Cornette.
Oh boy.
Give it a couple years. Yeah, he's going to be around for a while. But basically, they and Johnny Polo says just because he's the big power guy, it's going to be Pierre against one of the signers. And we're going to go ahead and spoil it now because they talk about it later on the show. We're going to get Scott versus Pierre next week. And if Scott can beat Pierre, Steiners get another title shot. They get their rematch.
Right.
And then we get footage from the Jerry Lewis MDA telethon. You know, he would do the Muscular Dystrophy Association.
Yeah, Bobby is trolling Jerry hard in this segment.
I thought it was hilarious. Called him Jerry Lee Lewis. It was, what else? But he was just, you're not the guy, this, that, and the other. And it was Randy. My mom used to watch this a lot. I was growing up, my mom would watch this a lot. So I do remember watching Jerry Lewis would do this, 2 or 3 days.
Uh-huh.
Around Labor Day, it was a telethon. He would always raise money for muscular dystrophy. That was the Jerry Lewis telethon. It would go on multiple days. All these celebrities would come by and, they would do bits like this or, musicians would sing or like I said, you would get Randy Savage and Bobby Heenan to do a bit,
Yeah.
Hey, we're doing this thing to raise money. And they would always cut to local TV, the local affiliate for whatever it was. I want to say it was NBC or ABC. I'm gonna say ABC.
Not sure.
But basically, and then it would be like, oh, we would do the local affiliate would do a couple hours, and then they would do all the local stuff, and then
Yeah, it's ABC.
ABC. Thank you. The local affiliate would be on the show for a few hours doing their thing. You know, hey, you can call here and donate and whatever. And then it would go to the national feed where it was Jerry Lewis, celebrities or whatever. And he would raise millions of dollars every year.
Yeah.
And I remember this. My mom would always say his goal every year was whatever he made the year prior, he wanted to raise $1 more every year.
Right. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, and that was his thing. He just wanted whatever I made last year, I want $1 more this year.
Right.
And it, like I said, that was a big thing. I mean, obviously Jerry Lewis is no longer with us. I think I think they still do it.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they don't.
But it was a huge thing back then. Where, like I said, my mom we would watch it for like days.
Yeah, I remember watching it with my mom too.
Yeah. But once again, we always said that say what you will about WWE, they've always been big about raising money for charity, and they're big with Special Olympics and doing all kinds of stuff. Their community outreach work, you can never deny them that.
Yeah, that is one thing they've always done well.
Yeah. So we get probably one of the last times we get this theme song. We get Rich Myers versus
Doink the Clown.
Yeah, which sucks because I think this is one of the last times they get this because this is right around the time Doink turns face, and then hey, enjoy Doink while you can. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, he's tossing glitter as he approaches the ring. What a monster.
But yeah, it was just like, oh, he's got water. Oh, he's got water. Whoop, glitter. And then basically, this was another segment match where the match was secondary or tertiary to everything. So Vince cuts out a promo for, hey, after Raw, silk stockings. But it was just funny that I don't know whether it was whatever it was, Vince just couldn't get the promo out, and Randy and Bobby are just giving him shit for it.
Yeah, I could tell he was having trouble with that.
And they're just like, we're going to make fun of you on television. Silk Stockings is my kind of show.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's a police procedural, but it's very Cinemax type.
Gotcha.
Once again, we've established procedurals are my comfort shows.
Oh yeah, we have talked about that.
It's a procedural. I'm going to watch it. And I watched it a couple months ago. I've watched some of it. But basically, Doink wins with the whoopee cushion at
2 minutes, 11 seconds.
Yeah. But this was not the big story, and this was the interesting part. While they're having the Doink match, and Vince fumbling over silk stockings, they get a hold of Crush. Remember, Crush has been not seen on TV for a while because he had that match with Yokozuna, and then he had, for lack of a better term, gotten crushed by Yokozuna.
Yeah.
He's convalescing over in Hawaii. And Vince is like, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing good, but this, that, and the other. Randy talks to him because we established that Randy is a good friend of Crush.
Right.
And he's like, hey, Crush, this is Randy. And he goes, hey, Vince, is that Randy Savage? He goes, well, yes, it is. Click. Crush hung up on Randy.
Oh, geez.
And I don't know if you caught that. They're like, well, we don't know if this was a, technical difficulty. He's like, no, we'll see what happens later. But basically, Crush hung up on Randy once he realized, hey, it's your best friend. Oh, is that who it is? Yeah, who? Huh. Click.
I didn't pick up on that. That was,
Well, there's a payoff.
Okay.
Very soon, actually. So, basically, Raw's over, and we got a lot of stuff going on next week. According to, once again, I don't think we've ever had an episode where we have all those, everybody says that's going to be there is going to be there, because we haven't had that yet, I don't think.
Uh-huh.
We're getting Bam Bam Bigelow, hell yes. Mr. Perfect, hell yes. And IRS, all going to be in action next week. Plus, we get an interview with
Bret Hart.
Actually, it seems a pretty stacked show for next week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not a lot going. There's a lot going on, like decent with stories. But yeah, for the first Raw back in almost about a month or so.
Solid outing.
Yeah, it's very solid. I'd give us a B, solid B.
Yeah, match of show was obviously the tag titles.
Yeah, but even the enhancement matches weren't bad.
Yeah, they were enhancement matches. If you knew what to expect, you would have been pleased.
But we've seen, in the time we've done this show, we've seen good enhancement matches.
And we've seen bad ones.
We've seen horrible ones.
Yeah, the enhancement here was good.
Yeah. Once again, I would give this a solid B.
Agreed.
Because we still got a lot of time to get storylines progressing. We're finally on the road to Survivor Series in about 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, We're gonna jump right into WCW Saturday Night, September 18th, 1993. This is the go home show the night before Fall Brawl with
War Games!
right in the first match, and we get Sting once again, huge Sting fan.
Oh, yes.
Versus Kane from Harlem Heat, which is actually Stevie Ray.
Okay.
Once I realized once he came out, I saw it was like I never figured out the whole Kane Cole thing because by the time I had started watching Harlem Heat, they were already Booker T and Stevie Ray.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, this is Stevie Ray, and I noticed that, and I noticed this, and we don't really get a payoff until the end of the show, and we still didn't get a payoff. A lot of cops around.
Yeah, I saw that.
There's a lot of cops for no reason, and I mean, we kind of see a reason. Once you finally realize the story they're telling for the show kind of makes sense, but at the same time, the cops are a non-factor. They have nothing happens, really.
No bearing on this.
No bearing whatsoever. But basically, this was just a okay match. Nothing really spectacular or nothing really came out of this match. It was all right.
I didn't care for it.
It was okay. Because, once again, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Basically, I think this was another segment match.
Mm-hmm. Sting goes for the Scorpion Deathlock, and then Cole comes in to interfere, and Sting wins by DQ.
Yeah, that's basically the highlight of the match was the ending.
Yeah, that took 3 minutes and 40 seconds, and to me, this makes Kane look bad if he can't handle Sting alone. That's why I didn't care for it.
This is where I'm going to respectfully disagree with you on this.
All right, make your case.
Okay, because, Sting's in War Games the next night, right?
Right.
Harlem Heat's in War Games next night, right?
Right.
So we're having basically our preview of one member of the team versus another member of a team from War Games.
Okay, I'm tracking so far.
And so basically, this is our preview. We see, obviously, hey, we're having a match. We want to make sure both sides look good because Cole comes out, attacks Sting. Hey, Harlem Heat's going to soften up Sting the night before War Games.
Okay, with that in mind, now it makes sense.
Yeah, I still think the match was decent, as C- at best. But I get why they did the ending the way they did.
Yeah, now that you've pointed that out, that they are going to be in War Games together tomorrow night. Now I get it.
Yeah, and then Dustin comes out for some reason. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. I'm an idiot. He's in War Games too. I'm a fucking idiot.
Right.
But he's also in a match. It's him and Flair later on versus Sid and Rick Rude. So he comes out, but then he just gets beat down, so he's fucked up. That plays into a factor with War Games. That plays into a factor with the main event.
Right.
He gets beaten up pretty bad. They hit I guess that was their finisher at the time. Once again, I wasn't watching wrestling at the time, so I didn't know if this was like the elbow drop, backbreaker thing. I don't know if that was their finisher.
Mm-hmm.
But you see them using it a lot, so I imagine it's one of their
go-tos.
Yeah, so we see that Dustin's all beat up, and then we go to Chris Cruz, who goes over the rules for
War Games!
And it's that cool like he goes over, the very convoluted way explaining the rules. Basically, two teams, two guys, a guy from each team starts for 5 minutes. There's a coin toss. Whatever team wins the coin toss, every 2 minutes, somebody comes in and goes winner, coin toss loser, back and forth until everybody's in. And then once everybody's in, it's basically tap out, or give up. Basically, that's the rules. It's just a very convoluted way of explaining it.
Yeah.
But we do get that really cool video package they showed last week too.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, we get that package again. It's very cool. Which is weird that they had this and the Fall Brawl Control Center on the same show. Which I don't know why they didn't do both of these together.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, but anyways, once again, this video package was cool. It just shows you, for those that aren't familiar with War Games, which have been going on since I think the mid '80s. It's a very brutal match.
Yeah, very. I haven't seen a lot that get worse than War Games.
Yeah, and honestly, if you remember when WWE was doing a lot of their DVD compilations,
right?
They actually I used to have this. It was their War Games. It was War Game, the history of War Games.
Oh, cool.
They had a small little documentary, but it was every War Games match that had ever happened.
Oh my!
It was like a 3 DVD set. It was every War Games match. I think up until, because they didn't bring it back until recently. And it was NXT for a while. They do NXT and now, they do it for Survivor Series now.
Right.
But, I think 98 or something like that. It was every year. It was right around fall time. It started out Great American Bash, and then it started going towards more Fall Brawl.
Right.
But this was basically up until from WCW, NWA, and WCW. There was a compilation. It was every War Games match, start to finish. It was the entire match for all of them.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very cool. Speaking of War Games, and we'll talk about why I say this here later, we get our tag champs, the Four Horsemen, Arn Anderson and Paul Roma versus Mike Thor and Todd Zane.
Mm-hmm.
And Shockmaster's in the crowd. Because?
Of course!
So, this is what this is. The tag champs, they're going up against the Nasty Boys tomorrow in 93, but, our next episode is going to be Fall Brawl. Spine Blaster, the best Spine Buster of all time. Paul Roma had a really nice splash. Win.
2 minutes, 44 seconds.
Was there any doubt?
There was not.
It wasn't bad. It was better than the CB Ray Sting match.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Tony's ringside with Four Horsemen. They get thoughts for the Nasty Boys and War Games, because for those that don't know, it used to be the Four Horsemen for the most part, basically versus whoever the faces were going to be that year in War Games. Arn Anderson did a bunch of them. And he was actually, the funny thing was, if you watch a lot of the earlier ones, not only was Arn Anderson in a bunch of them, he was always usually the first one in every year.
Oh, really? Neat.
So, yeah, he's been on a handful. So he's given his expertise on what to expect in a War Games match. Because I think this might have been the first one he wasn't in.
Yeah, but he was so good at that. That was a good promo.
Yeah, it's Arn Anderson. Do we need to explain Arn Anderson to anybody watching this show?
No, we don't.
There you go. We go back to Chris Cruz and the Fall Brawl Control Center. Obviously, it's the day before the show. There's no new matches. We're going over the card again.
Right.
I'm honestly kind of underwhelmed by the card.
It's not bad.
It's not as... Beach Brawl was better.
Beach Blast, you mean?
Beach Blast. Thank you. Just going on paper, I'm okay. It's going to be okay. This, I'm always been the advocate of most pay-per-views shouldn't be a one-match card or a two-match card.
Right.
Which usually ends up happening, but on paper I should be like, oh, this is going to be a good match. This is going to be a good match. This could be cool. This could be the sleeper hit.
Right.
We get War Games. We get Steamboat Regal. And you could throw the tag title match in there. Mm-hmm. And then Flair and Rude. Everything on the undercard just seems like, meh.
Yeah.
Like, really, were we clamoring for Charlie Norris versus Big Sky?
Probably about as much as we were clamoring for Yoshi Kwan versus Cactus Jack.
Yeah, but it's Cactus Jack. I mean...
Fair.
But, or Ice Train versus Tex Slazenger. Or was it Shanghai Pierce?
What?
But yeah, that's on that match too, because,
Because that's a thing.
So yeah, no new matches. We do get a promo from Cactus Jack, which, hey, Mick Foley with mic time, never a bad thing.
Always a good thing.
Yeah, basically he's like, I don't need any of the Zen mystical stuff. I don't need to be calm. I'm going to kick your teeth in.
Yep, love it.
It's Mick Foley, it's Cactus Jack on the mic. Thank God we're not lost in Cleveland anymore.
Yeah, that was so bad.
I don't know if they say it now or later. We're just going to spoil it now for everybody. That was all a ploy.
You've mentioned that before, I think.
That was the whole Cactus Jack was doing all that on, yeah, he got the concussion from that sick-ass powerbomb, but that entire thing was a ploy to get in under the skin of, Harley Race or whatever. That was fake.
Right.
Even for wrestling, it was fake, because he's like, yeah, I'm not really amnesiac and a sea captain in the dark alleys of Cleveland. I'm just like, oh, that makes it even worse. So, we come back with Tony Jesse, who's already there with Sir William.
Oh, yes.
And we come by with one of the guys on my Mount Rushmore.
Lord Steven Regal.
And what I really loved about this was kind of funny. This is why I like Regal promos, because he slipped some stuff in there that was funny. I don't know if you caught this. Because we're going to get Paul Orndorff versus Dave Hart here in a second.
Right.
And we know we're getting Steamboat versus Regal at Fall Brawl for the TV title.
Right.
And he was like, oh, I was studying Orndorff before he lost the title. And he kept calling him that Paula fellow.
Yeah, I noticed that. That was a nice little touch.
It was funny, because he kept calling him, he's like, oh, this Paula fellow, he just looks like this will be just a ripping good time. But he kept calling him Paula. And it wasn't like he was doing it like everyone's like, Paula. He was just calling him Paula like that was his name.
Right.
And it was funny as hell.
It was. It really was.
It was hilarious. And it was just subtle. Like, I don't, yeah, it was easy to catch up, but I don't think you really that's why I like Regal promos.
Right, because he can do stuff like that and make it believable.
Yeah, but it was hilarious. He just threw, instead of Paul, he called him Paula every time instead of Paul.
Right, as if it actually was the man's name.
Yeah, but he didn't overdo it. It was just a couple times he said Paula.
Right, he sold it.
Yeah, it was just enough, and it was hilarious.
Yes.
So him and Sir William are going to be with Tony and Jesse, not on commentary, but they're just going to be there like they're scouting talent.
Yeah, just hanging around.
Yeah, for Paul Orndorff versus Dave Hart. And here's the question: why is there a stairwell by the ring barriers or the ring the ring? Fuck, I always draw the blank. The pose, the guard rails.
Security railing.
Thank you, security railing. Why is there a stairwell there for no reason?
Good question.
I mean, we established later on what happened, but just out of nowhere, there's cops just standing there. By the way, we keep seeing Shockmaster, still in his hard hat.
Still in the crowd.
Yeah, with the kids. Paul Orndorff hits pile driver for the win.
3 minutes, 45 seconds.
Didn't hate it. No notes.
Decent enhancement.
Yeah, no notes.
No notes.
But basically what this has is that, so he hits the pile driver. Once we've established, Paul Orndorff probably has the best pile driver of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of anybody that had one better.
Yeah.
He hits Hart with the second one. Goes for a third one, and out comes Steamboat, who starts attacking Orndorff because they still have a little bit left over. And then out comes Regal, who hits Steamboat with the umbrella. Him and Orndorff close on him with the umbrella. They break the umbrella over Steamboat.
Yeah, I saw that. That looked nasty.
Yeah, so they're basically, Steamboat got softened up for Fall Brawl tomorrow night.
Yeah, Jesse says from commentary he'd love to see Regal and Orndorff as a tag team, and I'd love that too.
I wouldn't hate it. But just the fact that on Fall Brawl we're getting two of my Mount Rushmores, including my all-time favorite wrestler, that might be the match I'm most excited to see.
I hope for your sake that match can carry the show for you.
Yeah, I don't want to get Shawn Michaels versus Mr. Perfect all over again.
Yeah.
Where it was an okay match, but it just wasn't what I thought it could be.
Right. Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad match.
It didn't live up to the standards those two set.
Yeah. We know Steamboat. Matter of fact, I found a match, just clips. I would like to find the match. I'm sure it was on a Clash, so we can find it. My all-time favorite wrestler versus my best friend's all-time favorite wrestler, one-on-one.
Right, so that's Steamboat versus
Terry Funk.
Ah.
And I just watched clips, and I'm just like, oh my god, this match. The clips were amazing, so if I'm watching this whole match.
Gotcha.
89 Steamboat versus 89 Terry Funk.
Editing back to go look that match up.
Yeah, no, it's on the network. It's on Peacock. It's one of the Clashes.
Right.
But just the fact that, me and my best friend's all-time favorite wrestlers going one-on-one, and I didn't realize this till about a week ago when somebody, Twitter page I follow posted the clips, and I'm like, oh, I need to see this.
Yeah.
Oh. If I find a clip of the full match, maybe we'll post it, or I'll find the channel, the Twitch thing, and we'll find a way to put it up there.
Yeah.
Because once again, I got lazy with the Twitter page again.
To be fair, I'm guilty of that too, so.
Yeah. So we're going right into our main event. It is Rick Rude and Sid Vicious versus Flair and Rhodes, and we notice the heels are already in the ring.
Yep.
And out comes Flair and Rhodes to Flair's music with Sting, because we got Colonel Parker out there with Sid. So Sting comes out, and they're basically half carrying Dustin Rhodes to the ring. Yeah,
that did not look good for him.
Well, because he had gotten beat up at the beginning of the show, and he got by Harlem Heat, who comes from that, often used stairwell. Out comes Harlem Heat, who are stopped by the cops. And this is just basically Dustin Rhodes getting his ass kicked for the entire match.
Yeah, Sid immediately gets vicious on Dustin.
I see what you did there.
And on this weekend, when tempers have been flaring, so to speak, everywhere.
I like your Sid getting vicious joke. You know how that makes me feel?
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
That's how I feel about that stupid fucking Sid Vicious joke. But basically, the entire match is Dustin Rhodes getting the absolute just shit kicked out of him. Matter of fact, I'm going to use one of my favorite words. He's getting mollywopped.
Oh, yeah, he did, yeah, absolutely. He got mollywopped, murked, wasted, whatever you want to call it.
He got fucked up.
He really did.
The whole match. Like, props to Dustin Rhodes for making this look like he was just half dead. Once again, this is why I love me some Dustin Rhodes. I will always love me some Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah.
And at one point, Flair leaves, tries to bring a chair in. Like, he's ready. He's like, no, fuck this. We're getting in. And we once again, and I get it's 2 different shows, so it doesn't bother me because it's separate shows.
Uh-huh.
But we get face gets the hot tag, but the ref didn't see it, so, it doesn't count.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, once again, this is the second time we've seen it. Once again, it doesn't bother me here because it's 2 separate shows.
Right.
It just so happens we get it on both shows this week. Flair does tag in. All hell breaks loose.
Oh, yeah, the match goes to shit right at that point.
Basically, I think it's a DQ or a no. Let me double check. At least the notes I found, whether it was a DQ or a no contest, it was double disqualification.
Okay.
So basically, Flair, Rude, and everybody's fighting.
Yep.
Harlem Heat busts through the crowd. They're going to start fighting. Sting's in there fighting. And fucking, of course, here comes the Shockmaster. Instead of using the stairwell, what does he do?
He tries to come down through the crowd and he trips on the security rail.
Because fucking of course.
Because of course.
And this is the part where it's like, okay, the Shockmaster's already, I'm done with the Shockmaster.
Yeah.
Because not only does he trip and eat shit, because this is his gimmick now, he's like, you're clumsy. He trips getting into the ring. Twice.
Why did they lean into that direction? I don't get it.
Because of the whole moment where he fell through the wall. We're like, you're clumsy now. And by the way, that's going to be his gimmick the rest of the time he's the Shockmaster.
And how long does that last?
Not long.
Thank God.
But yeah, and then basically just how they like to say, Pure 6 Brawl. We get War Games guys fighting. We get the WCW, the NWA World Title match fighting. And that's how it ends.
Yep.
Didn't hate this. Other than, the Stevie Ray Sting match was kind of like C- at best.
I was underwhelmed by the entire show, frankly.
I will disagree with you on that one. Once again, our tastes and likes are wildly different.
Yes.
I will agree with you that my least favorite match was the first one. But I think this was a good go-home show before pay-per-view. We got everybody. We got basically the main players of all the matches. Got, at least if they weren't in a match, they got a segment or they were involved in a match somewhere. Everybody basically got their shine.
Yeah. The show did what it needed to as a go-home show, but I just didn't care for it.
Fair. I want to say, obviously, my favorite match of the whole show was the tag match.
Definitely.
Only because the story they told was fantastic. Shockmaster notwithstanding.
Yeah.
The enhancement matches did what they needed to do. None of them looked bad or out of place. We got a Cactus Jack promo. Just the subtle comedy from Regal. And you know what? I'm actually going to put one of my favorite Regal promos sometime this week up on the Twitter page. It was for Raw. You remember? I don't know if you're familiar with at least the Eugene character, right?
I'm not actually.
Okay, basically he was a savant that was basically, how do I put this lightly?
Autistic savant?
But like, hi guys, I'm Eugene. I'm special.
Oh, that kind.
But he was a savant that he could just pick up anything in wrestling. He would have one of those like silk jackets, like the Robert jacket type thing.
Right.
But he would wear it inside out with his name pinned on the jacket because he's special.
Right.
Wrestling with Regret has a long form video on it. It did not age well when it happened.
Yeah, definitely not. It doesn't sound like it would have.
Like I like the idea of a savant. Where it's like, yeah, I can do that now. But basically he's not low functioning autistic. I would say almost medium.
Okay.
Like he still need like Regal. Basically, he was supposed to be Eric Bischoff's nephew.
I see.
And Regal was GM at the time, and Bischoff, or basically he was a thing. Eric Bischoff was the GM. He's like, hey, your new job is you're gonna follow Eugene around, whatever he needs.
I see.
It's once again, when we get to it eventually, it aged horrendously.
Yeah, I can tell that just from your description.
Just watch the Wrestling with Regret video. Once again, I'm a big Ryan Zane fan.
I like his content too.
Because there's a whole thing where Triple H started beating on Eugene. We're going to use Eugene because he's simple. We're going to, hey, you're a friend with his evolution thing.
Yeah.
Where one of the only times I've ever seen a Regal face turn.
Oh.
Where Eugene got beaten bloody, right?
Right.
Like, the sledging and everything. And Regal comes out cutting a promo and is like, who did all this? And Regal basically said, it was me, bitch. Now you want to fight somebody? Why don't you fight somebody that can actually fight back? And he's yelling and screaming and spitting. And he's like, why don't you pick on somebody that can fight back?
Right.
Because I sent the shit out there. You got a problem with it? You got a problem with me. And I'm just like, oh. Take the evil Regal promo, but he's like, instead of being like, I'm just going to fight you because I can, he's like, no, we're going to go old school how I used to grow up. I'm about to take off the suit jacket and tape that fist up. We're about to fight.
Oh.
And then basically Triple H beat him bloody and he was out for a while, but it's just the promo where you're just like, oh shit.
I gotcha.
Oh shit. Where it's like, when you see you ever see like the show, the clips where the guy takes the suit jacket off, rolls up the sleeves. That's the kind of vibe I got from this.
Gotcha.
Where I'm going to go ahead and short tangent. We're almost done here, folks. Have you ever seen the Bronx Tale, which is a fantastic fucking movie?
Have not seen it.
There's a famous scene that goes on TikTok a lot, too, where these bikers come in to the bar. Like, this guy's growing up Italian, Robert De Niro's, and I think Robert De Niro directs it. It's a fantastic movie. As a movie, it's fantastic. Go seek it out. But anyways, the guy's son gets mixed up with the mafia or with the mob or whatever it was. Right. And they're in like a special bar. These bikers come in and they're causing mayhem. And he's like, hey, what's going on here? He goes, yeah, we're just stopping for a while. We're having a good time. He's like, all right, you guys can have a beer, whatever. Go about your business. Cool. And then they decide they're going to start throwing beer bottles. And they're like, oh, beer bottles and spraying the bartender.
Yee.
And I was like, all right, you know what? We told you to leave. Get the fuck out of here. And he goes, no, we're going to tell you when we leave. We're not done yet. So, now keep in mind Regal doing a promo with this kind of like context, right?
Right.
So the guy comes over, he looks outside, closes the door, locks the door. And the bikers look and they're just like, we're dead. Like they knew they were going to die there.
Oh.
And he's like, guess what? Now you can't leave. And then out comes a bunch of dudes from the back with baseball bats and chains and shit. And they proceed to beat the absolute dog shit out of these bikers.
Yikes.
Like, you out of context, you assume they didn't leave on their bikes. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. I get that.
That's the kind of vibe I got from this Regal promo.
Okay.
I was like, okay, you got your options. Now you're fighting me. And if you got a problem with it, I'm not afraid to knuckle up.
Right.
That's the kind of vibe I got from that promo.
Okay.
The whole, now's you can't leave, and now we're going to beat the shit out of you.
I gotcha.
I'll put the promo up on the DNA Twitter page. It's a fantastic promo. It might be, we'll put it this way, it might be my favorite Regal promo.
Oh, wow. That's high praise indeed.
Yeah. Because we've seen what Regal can do promo-wise here. That might be my favorite just because you're just like, it came out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
Because once again, Regal, he had some face turns, but this was the one where this wasn't a goofy face turn. This was, I'm going to beat the shit out of you.
It made sense.
Yeah, and I'm just like, and it made sense, but it also came out of nowhere.
Right.
At the same time. Because once again, Regal's known as a heel. He was a heel the whole time he was in WWE. And I was just like, oh. That's one of those where it's like, if he had a hat on, Regal would turn the hat backwards.
Right, like you do.
Yeah, the whole, you know how did you play video games better when your hat turns backwards? It's proven.
Yeah.
Yeah, but basically this was a Regal turning the hat backwards, let's knuckle up.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And it's not even a very long promo. It's fantastic.
I gotcha.
Anyways, God, I miss tangents. All right, that is, matter of fact, let's go through this. Like I said, the tag match for Saturday night was my favorite.
Yeah, my favorite match of our episode was the tag title match.
The Quebecers and the Steiners, yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought that Raw and Saturday night were comparable, in my opinion, quality-wise. The only reason I would put Raw over Saturday Night was Stevie Ray and Sting.
You know what? I agree with that. Like Raw was my favorite, and I didn't care for pretty much most of WCW. So
But yeah, I liked it more than you did.
yeah.
Once again, thank you to everybody at the Main Event Wrestling Network. Please search those guys out everywhere. Those guys put on some quality stuff.
Oh yeah, I've been having fun looking into what they do.
Yeah, and they're great guys to talk to.
Oh yeah.
Whenever you see them on social medias, follow all their shows. Follow the actual network on the socials. Follow the guys' shows. Like I said, YouTube, Twitter. They have a TikTok page. They have a website. So if if you like reading articles and blogs, they have a lot of great blogs on there. I'm glad to be a part of those guys. We're having a lot of fun with those guys, and hopefully we can see what we can do about working with these guys. Some collabs in the future.
Yeah, looking forward to trying.
Yeah, you can find us as the podcast. I promise we're going to use the Twitter more. I swear to God, I said we would, and I didn't. Because the last thing I posted was the Ric Flair Bruiser Brody match.
Oh yeah.
Capital D and Capital A Podcast 1. We're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, and then basically Spotify, and then is whatever podcast sites are left. They're dropping like flies.
Yeah.
But at least at minimum Spotify. I know we're on Good Pods, Apple, as long as they're still doing podcasts. Yeah. And like I said, if you're looking, if there's a place you want us to look at, just let us know. We'll see what we can do.
Oh yeah.
Where can we find you, and what the hell are you doing?
I am at Big Boct, BIGBOCT, pretty much everywhere. I'm working on Twitch streaming with the current goal of Monday, Tuesday, Thursday going live around 1 p.m.
Eastern.
Yes, 1 p.m. Eastern.
And what kind of stuff? I've watched you. I'm enjoying it. What kind of stuff are you playing right now, or what kind of stuff do you plan on playing?
I've always been a big rhythm game fan. Been playing the open source DDR clone Stepmania for literally 20 years now. I plan on the first thing I did when I started streaming this year was to the entire process of making a step file. I plan to do that a lot.
Yeah, you had a big name actually use one of your charts on a stream a while back.
Yeah, Trihex was in the middle of a subathon. I offered the Google Drive where I keep my files. He said, yeah, and he played a few of them. It was really cool.
Yeah, so shout out to Trihex, who I accidentally ran into before I realized, because I'm not a big speedrunning guy. He's known mainly as a speedrunner.
Right.
Yeah, I told you, I accidentally shared I should have shuttled from the airport. You're like, really?
Yeah, I knew him for his Yoshi's Island speedruns at that point.
But yeah, you were like, dude, you not understand who that man is?
Yeah.
Nice guy, by the way. He was a really nice dude.
Oh yeah, I could tell that from the way he interacted for the way he was interacting in the chat when I was watching.
Yeah, we were just chatting about different things. He gave me some advice this was years ago. But, really cool dude. Real solid dude, so.
Yeah, solid.
Shout out to Trihex. So what else are you doing besides Stepmania? Because you make the charts, too.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like cut the song to appropriate length, make the charts, test the charts, and yeah.
Yeah, so
I'm also doing some DOS gaming because I grew up on DOS.
Mm-hmm.
Right now I'm on Wing Commander Privateer, which is a space combat sim glued to an open world framework. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I am also seeking my first win on normal difficulty in the roguelike FTL Faster Than Light.
Yeah, I know you had said at one point you were looking to do a tool-assisted speedrun on that.
I thought about it. Yeah, there actually was one made by Keeley, I believe, and unfortunately it's kind of boring because it's instantaneous menuing and incredible amounts of manipulating randomness.
Gotcha.
Where can we find you, Xander?
Xander and Victor's everywhere. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. I'm trying to use Instagram a little bit more. I'm failing, but I'm working on it. YouTube, you can find me at Xander Victor's everywhere. Twitch, I stream literally almost every night. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I do 2K20 WWE 2K24. I do My Faction Monday and Tuesday, and then I have Xander 3 shows on Thursday and Friday where I take my own created character, the technical slasher Xander Invictus, and I wrestle all 3 shows. I actually lost my first match, but I'm basically 80-something and 1.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and I'm also in a tag team with the Fiend version of Bray Wyatt.
Ooh.
We're known as the Final Nightmare. But, yeah, so that's fun. And then I started doing Magic the Gathering Arena. I'm a big Magic player. Basically, paper Magic, I play Commander.
Yep.
So basically what I've been doing lately is, since they have Brawl, Standard Brawl, I've just been doing Brawl decks because that's as close I'm going to get to playing Commander on Arena.
Right.
So I'm also in the works of starting a second YouTube channel just for the shorts for Arena.
I gotcha.
I'm not looking to do deck decks are my thing, or basically it's like any of my content I make shorts or otherwise for Arena, I'm going to put on a separate YouTube channel.
Okay.
But all my gaming stuff is going to be on regardless is going to be on TikTok. But so if you watch, I'll let you guys know when I get that up and started. Hopefully, I'm trying to get Retangibles up and going, at least started, because we got some cool news coming up here in 5 months already.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, it's about 5 months away. You know what I'm talking about.
I actually am not sure. Can you remind me?
I will remind you off line or off recording.
Okay.
But you know what this is, and it's about 5 months away.
Okay.
So, yeah. Once again, also, if you're watching the Twitch streams, my mom is now on, comes in and watches, so, watch your fucking language. That's how I always introduce her when she comes in. I go, that's my mom, now watch your fucking language. But if you see a Madre Xander in my Twitch chat, that's my mom. Actually is my mom, so, say hi to her when she comes through.
How about that?
Yeah, it took me years. You understand how many years it took me to not only get her to watch, to actually register a Twitch name so she can chat in chat.
Right.
That took me years.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's the thing now. So she comes in. She's there almost every night, at least for a little bit. So if you see her, come say hi. She'll appreciate it. So once again, 800 tangents aside, but once again, you should know that by now if you're listening to this podcast.
Yep.
We will see you guys in 2 weeks for Fall Brawl and
War Games!
see you then.
Take care.